All right, Goze from GozeJitsu.com here. This is the very first after party. You guys are very lucky. Probably wondering what the after party is. This is something I'm going to do on GozeJitsu.com, hopefully every day. I know I've said that before. It doesn't always pan out that way with school and my other hectic schedule, sleeping, all that stuff, eating. What I'm going to do is every day after the show, I'm going to come on, I'm going to talk a little bit about the show, give you a little bit of the behind the scenes things that happen here at MMA Junkie Radio. I'm going to jump right in. One of the things that stood out for me was yesterday we had technical difficulties, which always sucks because we're not the most technically savvy individuals here at MMA Junkie Radio. So, the first thing we had to do was get that problem fixed. We had to get it resolved, and it took us pretty much the whole day. I mean, I was here till pretty late last night getting this all working, and we had an individual come in, a friend of ours, we'll call him Mr. X. He came in and he helped us out a bunch because we were able to do the show. I mean, this is a daily show, and if we miss a day or two, it really does hurt. So thank you to Mr. X for helping us get that all together. On today's show, it's kind of a homecoming of sorts. We had some of our favorite individuals on the show, and we've always stated that we're not the most professional guys. We do have some guys that just kind of touch our hearts. They're from our hometown, or maybe they gave us a little bit of a help starting out when we first started this podcast. And one of those guys is Mike the Joker Guyman. He was one of the first individuals to ever be on the show. I think he was there day 2. And Joker's a great individual. We've seen his career progress, through King of the Cage, the IFL. We even saw him a couple times live. It's something that we always like to do, always like to show him a little love. And seeing him progress to the UFC was really nice. It's a good feeling to see your friend succeed. And now he's got a big fight here at UFC 121. And so we were able to get him on the show, and he talked a little bit about what he's been through. He's one of those guys that had a really low time in his life, but just bounced right back up. And I'd have to say this is a great year for Joker. He's got this big fight ahead of him. He seems very confident. It's great to see an individual like him that's just so nice and so down to earth. If you ever meet him in person, go up to him and talk to him. He's a great guy. To see a guy succeed like that is awesome. So we had him, and then we also had Jeff Meyer from Tuff-N-Uff. He came on the show. And Jeff is a great individual. He does a lot for MMA, him and his brother Barry. They brought amateur fighter with them. It's always fun to get these guys on the show because then later on when we get to go to the show, we actually get to see them compete. And you kind of cheer for the guy. You get to know him a little bit. They both told, surprisingly, even Jeff told a street fight story. They both had street fight stories, really good. I'd go back to the archives free and check that out. But one of the coolest experiences here at MMA Junkie Radio is when we do get to meet the listeners. We get emails from you guys, we get phone calls, and we don't always necessarily know what you're really like in real person. Because obviously, I'm not the same jackass that I am here in the studio. I'm probably a little different off the mic. So is Gorgeous George. So it's nice to meet the Junkie Radio listeners. This is Dante Morgan. Some of you know him as Sensory Overload. I think on Twitter, on Facebook. I think you have a Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
This is Dante. We've met Dante before. Dante came about, I want to say 6 or 7 months ago. Very cool guy. I had communications with him before on Facebook, and it's just really cool to learn a little bit about the listeners. Put that face to the name. So, Dante, what did you think? You sat down, you got to hear the show. What did you like about it?
Well, the street fight stories were really good. I was not expecting a street fight story like that from Jeff. So that was really good. Really that was probably in the top 5 or 10 street fight stories on the show.
I like Jeff Meyer. He's a character. You got to meet him in real life. He's just one of those guys that you just want to, when you're talking about guys that you want to get together and go out with, Jeff is one of those guys. He's just a funny cat. You can always expect a good time, and he's got a good heart. So, really classy guy. What I want to know, Dante, is from your perspective, what makes you want to come out to Vegas? I think you do some business out here, but aside from that, what makes you want to stop at MMA Junkie Radio and talk to us two, jackasses and hang out? What is it about the show you like? What is it that drew you here?
Well, if you think about it, you spend so much time listening to you guys' show, a couple hours a day, 5 days a week. It adds up over time where you seem like you it's like kind of a one-way street. Like, I know you guys a lot, and you probably don't know me at all until I show up. So it's always good to finally see you guys in person, because it's like I probably listen to you guys more than like any other individuals, in my normal life, just because there's so much time involved, listening to the show and driving around town, and I got it on the radio.
I like to ask people this question a lot: is how did you find out about the show? When was the first time you listened to it? Where'd you hear from? And also, like, what did you think of us the first time you listened to it? Did you think we were a couple of jackasses, or did you say, "Hey, those guys are pretty cool"? What made you want to stick around?
Okay, well, I found the site just trying to check up on MMA news. Then I saw that you guys had a show. Back then it was Tag, and I know MMA Junkie was doing promos for that. So I was listening to the show then, and then I was listening to other podcasts, not MMA related necessarily, but listening to other podcasts as part of passing the time. So after a while, I realized I was listening to your show more often and skipping other podcasts. So I figured, you know what, let's just listen to MMA Junkie, because it's exactly what I want to hear. So I like how it's a little bit not so formal. It's just one thing I will say about it, there's a lot of things that I didn't know when I first started listening. There's inside jokes, personalities that I had to get used to. So, but now that it's kind of like an inside joke. Like over time, you realize like a lot of stuff about the show, and then you kind of like clue in, like, oh yeah, oh, I know this caller. This is going to be a good one, and it really makes you feel like you're a part of something instead of just like mindlessly listening to something.
What surprised you the most about the first time you came here? Your experience in the studio, meeting us. Did anything kind of catch you off guard?
Well, I watched the Ustream feed, and I got to see what it looks like from the camera's angle, but I knew that you guys were at the Race and Sportsbook, but I didn't realize what you guys look at, and that's all the lines on all the sporting events, all the screens and everything, and it's kind of like a lot more stuff going on than I didn't really pay attention to that when watching the Ustream feed. So it kind of like once I was here, I realized what all's going around the show besides just a couple people talking.
All right, well, there you have it. If you missed any of the show, like I mentioned, Jeff Meyer, Mike the Joker Guyman, Dante came in to hang out. We always cover the news. We take calls. The calls are kind of like the fourth guest on the show, the fourth co-host of sorts. Check it out. You can obviously find the podcast on iTunes, MMAJunkie.com. It's pretty much everywhere. Ustream. Check out the show. I'm Goze. This is Dante. Thank you for coming by, Dante. And hopefully, maybe I do this every day. We'll see how it goes.
I'm just a little chubby guy.